In the heart of Umudike village, where the red earth clung lovingly to bare feet and the palm trees whispered ancient secrets to the wind, there lived a young woman whose name stirred both admiration and envy. Her name was Achalugo. They called her Achalugo the Proud. But pride was not the whole story. From the way she walked through the market square to the way she balanced her clay pot gracefully on her head, Achalugo carried herself like royalty. Her back was always straight, her chin slightly lifted, her step slow and deliberate, as though the earth itself should feel honored to be touched by her feet. She was beautiful, not just beautiful, but the kind of beauty that made conversations pause mid-sentence. Her skin glowed like fresh palm oil under the sun. Her eyes were sharp and mysterious, as if they held secrets from another world. When she smiled, which was rare, it felt like the first rainfall after a long drought. But Achalugo did not smile easily. The women in the village would whisper whenever she passed. "Look at her," one would murmur while sorting vegetables. "She thinks she is a queen." "Beauty fades," another would reply. "Let her continue." The young men were no different. Many had tried to win her attention, farmers, hunters, even the son of the wealthiest palm wine tapper in the village. They brought her gifts, kola nuts, wrappers from the city, beads polished to perfection. But Achalugo would simply nod politely and walk away. It was not that she despised them. She simply believed she was destined for something greater. "Why should I settle?" she once told her closest friend, Adis, "when my heart tells me I was born for more than this small village." Adis would shake her head. "Be careful, Achalugo. The higher the bird flies, the more it risks the hunter's arrow." Achalugo would laugh softly. "Let the hunter try." Yet beneath her confident exterior, there was something no one knew. Every night, when the moon rose high and silence swallowed the village, Achalugo would sit outside her father's hut, staring into the darkness beyond the forest. She was waiting. Waiting for something she could not fully explain. Sometimes she dreamed of a stranger, a tall figure standing at the edge of the forest, watching her. His face was never clear, but his presence felt powerful. In her dreams, he would stretch out his hand toward her, and just as she tried to move closer, she would wake up, her heart pounding. The dreams had started the day her mother died. Her mother, who on her dying bed, held Achalugo's hand tightly and whispered, "You are not like the others, remember who you are." But what did that mean? No one else in the village knew about those words. Not even her father. Days passed peacefully, but whispers grew louder. Some believed Achalugo's pride would bring her downfall. Others believed she was hiding something. Then one evening, as the sun painted the sky orange and the village prepared for the new Yam Festival, a strange traveler arrived. He was not from Umudike. His clothes were fine, but dusty from a long journey. His presence commanded attention without effort. And when his eyes swept across the gathering crowd, they stopped on Achalugo. For the first time in her life, Achalugo felt her heart skip. The traveler did not smile. He only looked at her, long and knowing, as though he had been searching for her. And in that moment, the air changed. The drums of the festival began to beat loudly, but Achalugo could hear nothing except the sound of her own heartbeat. Who was he? Why did his presence feel so familiar? And why did her mother's final words suddenly echo in her ears? "You are not like the others." That night would mark the beginning of something Umudike village would never forget. But neither Achalugo nor the villagers were prepared for the secret the traveler carried. And the truth about Achalugo was far greater than anyone imagined. That night, the drums of the New Yam Festival echoed through Umudike like a heartbeat that refused to rest. The villagers danced in circles, their feet raising soft clouds of red dust. Laughter filled the air, and the aroma of roasted yam and palm oil drifted from every compound. But Achalugo did not dance. Her eyes remained fixed on the stranger. He stood near the ancient udala tree at the center of the village square, his tall frame unmoving, his dark eyes calm yet intense. He did not join the celebration. He did not speak. He only watched her. Achalugo tried to look away, but something held her gaze captive. A strange warmth spread through her chest, mixed with fear she could not explain. Adis leaned closer to her and whispered urgently, "Achalugo, that man has not looked at anyone else since he arrived. Do you know him?" Achalugo shook her head slowly. "No." But deep inside, something whispered otherwise. The stranger began walking toward her. Each step he took was steady and confident, as if he already belonged in Umudike. The drums seemed to grow quieter with each step, or perhaps it was only Achalugo's racing heart drowning them out. The villagers began to notice. Conversation slowed. Eyes followed him. He stopped directly in front of Achalugo. Up close, he was even more striking. His face was strong and calm, his skin marked faintly with tribal lines that did not belong to any clan in Umudike. Around his neck hung a small carved pendant shaped like a crescent moon. He looked at her as if confirming something long suspected. Then, he spoke. "Achalugo." Her breath caught. She had not told him her name. A cold shiver ran down her spine. "Yes," she replied cautiously. "Who are you?" The stranger did not answer immediately. Instead, his eyes softened, almost with relief. "My name is Obina," he said quietly. "And I have traveled very far to find you." The words sent murmurs through the nearby villagers. "Find her." "Why?" Achalugo straightened her posture, her pride refusing to show fear. "Why would you travel so far for someone you do not know?" Obina studied her face carefully. "I know more about you than you think." Silence fell between them. Achalugo felt both anger and curiosity rise within her. "That is impossible," she said firmly. But Obina's expression did not change. "Your mother was named Kemdelem." Achalugo's heart nearly stopped. No one outside Umudike knew her mother's name. No one. Her voice trembled despite her effort to stay composed. "How do you know my mother?" Obina glanced around at the watching villagers. "This is not something to discuss before everyone." Fear crept into Achalugo's chest. Before she could respond, her father, Okeke, stepped forward angrily. "Stranger," he barked. "You come into my village and speak of my family. Explain yourself now." Obina bowed his head respectfully. "I mean no harm. But the truth I carry cannot be spoken carelessly." Okeke's jaw tightened. "Then you will not speak to my daughter again." Achalugo felt something unexpected. Disappointment. Obina looked at her one last time. "You deserve to know who you truly are," he said softly. Then he turned and walked away toward the hut given to travelers. Achalugo stood frozen. His words echoed inside her. "Who you truly are." That night, sleep refused to come. She lay on her mat, staring into the darkness. Her mother's voice returned to her memory. "You are not like the others." Suddenly, Achalugo heard something outside. A faint sound. Her name. Achalugo. She sat up quickly. Her heart pounded. The voice came again, soft but clear. She stepped outside her father's hut. The village was silent. The moon hung low and full. And there, standing near the edge of the forest, was Obina. Waiting. As if he knew she would come. Fear and curiosity battled inside her. She knew she should return inside. She knew she should listen to her father. But her feet began to move on their own. One step. Then another. Toward the stranger. Toward the truth. She stopped a few feet away from him. His face was serious. "Why did you call me?" she whispered. Obina looked toward the dark forest behind him. Then back at her. "Because," he said quietly, "you are in danger." Achalugo's breath caught. What danger? Obina hesitated. Then he said the words that would change her life forever. The people you call your own are not your only family. The wind blew suddenly, rustling the trees. And from deep within the forest, something moved. Watching them. Unseen. The wind grew stronger, swirling dust around Achalugo's feet as she stood before Obina at the edge of the forest. Her heart pounded loudly. What do you mean I am not their only family? She demanded, trying to steady her voice. Obina's eyes searched her face carefully, as though measuring how much truth she could bear. Your mother, Nkemdelim, she was not from Umudike. Achalugo froze. Everyone in the village believed her mother came from a distant neighboring town. That was the story her father always told. You lie, Achalugo whispered. Obina shook his head slowly. She came from a place hidden beyond the great forest. A place few know exists. A royal clan, bound to an ancient covenant. Achalugo felt her knees weaken. Royal. The word echoed in her mind. Suddenly, her mother's dying face flashed before her eyes. You are not like the others, remember who you are. Her breath grew shallow. What covenant? She asked. Obina looked toward the moon above them. Many years ago, your mother fled her homeland to protect you. There was a prophecy that a daughter born under the blood moon would inherit a power that could either unite or destroy our people. Achalugo's chest tightened. I do not understand any of this. You were born on the night the moon turned red, Obina continued. That night, the elders declared you the chosen heir of the Crescent kingdom. The pendant around his neck glinted under the moonlight. The symbol of the crescent, he said softly, touching it, belongs to your true lineage. Achalugo stepped back. This is madness. But deep inside, something stirred. Memories she had buried. The way her mother would sometimes stare at the moon with sadness. The strange lullabies she sang in a language Achalugo never understood. The way villagers often said Achalugo seemed different. Suddenly, a branch snapped behind them. Both turned sharply. From the darkness of the forest, 3 shadowy figures emerged. Tall. Silent. Dressed in dark cloaks. Their faces partially hidden. Obina's body stiffened. They found us sooner than I expected, he muttered. Who are they? Achalugo whispered, fear gripping her throat. They are called the keepers of the oath, Obina said quietly. They swore that the child of the prophecy must never claim her throne. Achalugo's mind spun. Throne. Prophecy. This could not be real. One of the cloaked figures stepped forward. His voice was deep and cold. Obina. You were warned not to interfere. Achalugo's blood ran cold. Interfere. Obina moved slightly in front of her. She deserves the truth. The truth will bring ruin, the cloaked man replied. The other 2 figures began to spread out slowly, circling them. Achalugo's breathing quickened. Her pride, her elegance, her confidence, none of it prepared her for this. She was afraid. Truly afraid. The lead keeper raised his hand. The girl must return with us. Obina's voice hardened. She will go nowhere. Achalugo grabbed his arm. Return where? She demanded. What are you talking about? The keeper's eyes locked onto hers. For years, we have waited for you to come of age. Tonight, under the full moon, your blood awakens. As if in response to his words. A sharp pain shot through Achalugo's chest. She gasped. Her skin began to feel warm. Too warm. The air around her shifted strangely. Obina looked at her in shock. It's happening. The moonlight above intensified, casting a silver glow around Achalugo's body. Her eyes widened. The world around her seemed louder. Brighter. Clearer. She could hear the wind as if it whispered secrets directly into her ears. She could sense the fear of the keepers. And then, her eyes flickered. For a brief second, they glowed. A faint, golden light. The keepers stepped back immediately. "The mark," one of them whispered. Achalugo looked down at her wrist. A glowing crescent symbol slowly appeared on her skin. She screamed. Obine caught her before she fell. "It has begun," he said softly. The lead keeper's voice trembled slightly now. "She carries the true mark." The forest seemed to bow in silence. Achalugo's scream faded into heavy breathing as the glow slowly dimmed. She looked at her wrist in disbelief. This cannot be real. But it was. The keepers exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, the leader spoke. "The prophecy is no longer a myth." He looked directly at Achalugo. "You must choose, child of the blood moon." "Choose what?" she asked weakly. "Remain in this small village, living a simple life." He paused. "Or return with us, and claim the throne that has waited for you." The words hung heavily in the night air. Achalugo turned slowly toward the direction of Umudike village. Her home. Her father. The only life she had ever known. Then she looked at Obina. His eyes held both hope and worry. Everything she believed about herself had shattered in one night. Princess. Prophecy. Power. The girl who once walked with pride through the market square now stood trembling between two words. And deep in her heart, a strange, powerful feeling began to rise. Not fear. Not pride. But destiny. The moon glowed brighter overhead. The decision she made would change everything. But before she could speak, a loud cry echoed from the direction of the village. Followed by chaos. Screams. Firelights flickering against the sky. Achalugo's heart stopped. "Father." The keepers turned toward the village. Obina's face went pale. They are not alone. The attack had begun. And Achalugo was the reason. The scream from the village tore through Achalugo's heart like a blade. Without thinking, she ran. "Achalugo, wait." Obina shouted, chasing after her. The keepers did not stop her this time. Instead, they followed swiftly, their dark cloaks flowing behind them like shadows of the night. As Achalugo reached the edge of Umudike, her breath caught in her throat. Flames. Huts were burning. Smoke rose into the sky, swallowing the moonlight. Villagers ran in confusion, mothers clutching their children, men shouting orders that no one could follow. Goats bleated wildly. The once joyful village square was now chaos. Her beautiful Umudike. Destroyed. "Father," she screamed, running toward their compound. She saw him. Okeke stood with a machete in his hand, trying to hold back masked warriors dressed in black armor marked with the same crescent symbol, but broken in half. The sight froze her. "Stop!" Achalugo cried. One of the masked warriors raised his weapon toward her father. Without thinking, something inside Achalugo snapped. A sudden surge of heat rushed through her veins. The crescent mark on her wrist ignited with golden light. The air trembled. A powerful force burst outward from her body like a wave. The warrior was thrown backward violently, crashing into a burning hut. Everyone stopped. Even the flames seemed to hesitate. Achalugo stood in the center of the chaos, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her breathing was heavy, her eyes shining gold once more. The villagers stared at her in shock. The proud, elegant Achalugo they knew was no ordinary girl. Obina stepped beside her quickly. "They are the Shadow Guard," he said urgently. "They serve those who want the throne for themselves." The leader of the masked warriors removed his face covering slowly. His face was scarred, his expression cold. "So," he said darkly, the blood moon princess awakens at last. Achalugo swallowed hard, fear creeping back into her chest. I never asked for this, she whispered. The man smirked. Power does not wait for permission. He lifted his sword. Capture her. The warriors charged again. But this time, Achalugo did not freeze. The heat inside her grew stronger. She could feel the earth beneath her feet, steady and alive. She could hear every movement, every breath around her. A warrior lunged toward her. She lifted her hand instinctively. The ground beneath him cracked open, sending him stumbling backward. Gasps filled the air. Even the keepers looked stunned. She commands the elements, one whispered. Okeke stared at his daughter in disbelief. Achalugo, what are you? The question pierced her heart. What was she? A princess. A weapon. A curse. Another warrior attacked from behind. Before the blade could touch her, Obina intercepted him, fighting fiercely. Focus, he shouted at her. Your power responds to your will. The shadow guard leader grew impatient. Enough. He pulled out a small dark horn and blew into it. A deep, haunting sound echoed across the village. Suddenly, the flames around them grew wilder, higher, unnatural. The fire began moving toward Achalugo as if alive. She panicked. I can't control it. Yes, you can. Obina yelled. Feel the moon. It is part of you. Through the smoke, Achalugo looked up. The full moon hung above her. Bright. Powerful. Steady. She closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, she let go of pride. Let go of fear. Let go of confusion. And simply accepted. Accepted that she was different. Accepted that her mother's words were true. Accepted that she was born for more than Umudike. The crescent mark burned brighter than ever before. A wave of silver light exploded from her body. The raging flames suddenly froze. Then extinguished completely. Silence fell. The shadow guard staggered backward in shock. The leader's confident expression cracked. This is impossible. Achalugo opened her eyes. They were no longer just glowing. They were radiant. Her voice, when she spoke, carried authority beyond her years. Leave my village. The ground trembled slightly beneath her feet. The shadow guard leader hesitated. For the first time, he looked afraid. This is not over, princess, he warned. Then he signaled his men. One by one, they retreated into the darkness. The village was left in stunned silence. Smoke drifted into the night sky. Okeke slowly approached his daughter. His strong hands trembled slightly. You saved us. Achalugo looked at him, tears finally escaping her eyes. I never meant for this to happen. Obina stepped forward gently. It would have happened eventually. They fear what you represent. The villagers began whispering again. But this time, it was not about her pride. It was about her power. About destiny. About prophecy. Okeke placed his hands on Achalugo's shoulders. If they return, they will not stop. Achalugo knew he was right. The keepers stepped closer now, no longer hostile. The throne can no longer remain empty, their leader said respectfully. You must come with us before they gather more forces. Achalugo looked around her village. Burned huts. Shaken faces. Fearful eyes. If she stayed, Umudike would remain a target. If she left, she might never return the same. Obina met her gaze. You can protect them better from the throne than from here. Her father's eyes were filled with pain, but also understanding. My daughter, he said softly, perhaps this was why your mother came here. Achalugo's heart broke. But she stood tall. Not with pride. With purpose. I will go, she said quietly. Gasps filled the air. She turned to her father and embraced him tightly. I will come back, she whispered. Then she faced the dark forest. The place she once feared. Now calling her home. As she stepped toward it, the moonlight followed her path. But deep within the shadows, a pair of red eyes watched. The true enemy had not yet revealed himself. And he was smiling. The forest was silent as Achalugo walked away from Umudike. Each step felt heavier than the last. Behind her, her father stood watching until her figure disappeared into the shadows. The villagers whispered prayers. Some bowed their heads. Some stared in fear. The proud girl who once walked through the market like royalty was now walking toward a destiny she never asked for. The journey through the forest lasted until dawn. The keepers moved swiftly and silently. Obina remained close to Achalugo, watching her carefully as though afraid she might disappear. Beyond this forest, he told her softly, is the land your mother came from. As the first light of morning broke, the trees began to thin. And then, Achalugo saw it. A kingdom hidden between mountains. Tall stone walls carved like a crescent moon around a magnificent palace built of white stone and silver rooftops that reflected the rising sun. Waterfalls flowed down from the cliffs into a shining river that circled the land like protection. It was breathtaking. And strangely familiar. Her heart began to race again. This, she whispered. This place. I have seen it before. Obina nodded. In your dreams. They entered through massive gates carved with the same crescent symbol that now marked her wrist. As soon as her foot crossed the entrance, a strange warmth filled the air. Guards dropped to one knee. Women carrying baskets paused and bowed their heads. Even children playing in the courtyard stopped and stared at her with wide eyes. She carries the mark, someone whispered. The Blood Moon Princess has returned. Returned. The word echoed in her mind. Inside the palace, elders dressed in flowing silver robes waited in a grand hall. At the center stood an empty throne made of polished ivory and adorned with moon-shaped carvings. Achalugo felt her knees weaken. That throne, she said quietly. It has been empty since your mother fled, the eldest keeper replied. She chose love over duty. But she always believed you would return. Tears burned Achalugo's eyes. Her mother had left royalty behind. For her. Suddenly, a deep voice filled the hall. And you believe she deserves to sit there? The air grew cold. The elder stiffened. From the shadows at the far end of the hall, a tall figure stepped forward. He wore black armor marked with the broken crescent. His eyes glowed faintly red. Achalugo's breath caught. It was the presence she had felt watching them. The true enemy. I am Lord Zerok, he announced coldly. And I have protected this kingdom from weakness for years. Obina's jaw tightened. You call fear protection? Zerok smirked. I call it strength. He turned his piercing gaze toward Achalugo. You were raised in a small village. You know nothing of ruling. Nothing of war. Nothing of sacrifice. His words stung. But Achalugo stood still. Zerok continued. Power without control destroys everything. Can you control yours, princess? The hall was silent. Everyone waited. Achalugo felt doubt creep into her heart. She remembered the fire. The destruction. The fear in her father's eyes. What if Zerok was right? What if she was not ready? Then, she remembered something else. The way she extinguished the flames. The way the earth answered her call. The way she chose to protect instead of destroy. Her power was not rage. It was balance. She stepped forward slowly. I may not know everything, she said calmly. But I know this. Her crescent mark began to glow again. Power ruled by fear brings darkness. The silver light filled the hall. But power guided by love brings unity. The moon symbol above the throne suddenly shone brightly. The elders gasped. The throne responded to her presence. Zerak's expression hardened. Then prove it. Without warning, he lunged forward, dark energy forming in his hands. Gasps echoed. But Achalugo did not panic. She lifted her hand steadily. The silver light met the dark energy midair. The hall shook. The clash of power created a blinding flash. For a moment, everything stopped. When the light faded, Zerak was on one knee, struggling to breathe. Achalugo stood untouched. But her eyes were no longer glowing wildly. They were calm, controlled, balanced. She had mastered it. The elders bowed deeply. The prophecy is fulfilled, they declared. Zerak looked up at her with fury, and something else. Respect. This is not the end, he warned weakly. Achalugo stepped closer to him. No, she said softly. It is the beginning. She extended her hand. Help me rebuild this kingdom instead of tearing it apart. The hall fell silent. Zerak hesitated. Then slowly, he lowered his head. The broken crescent symbol on his armor cracked and fell away. The kingdom had chosen its ruler. Achalugo turned toward the throne. Her heart was steady now. No longer the proud village girl seeking something greater. No longer the confused child of prophecy. But a queen. She sat upon the crescent throne. As she did, the moonlight poured through the palace ceiling, bathing the kingdom in silver glow. Far away in Umudike, her father looked up at the sky and smiled softly. He could feel it. His daughter had become what she was always meant to be. But she had not lost her heart. And from that day forward, the name Achalugo was no longer whispered with envy. It was spoken with honor. For she ruled not with pride, but with purpose.